Hello, fellow Disney Plus watchers. So glad you're joining today. Welcome to Your Thoughts, where I'll be reading and responding to what you thought about the latest Disney Plus episodes and movies. And last week, you sent in comments with, on top of it, D+, so that I recognize you consent and agree that I'll be adding your words into the mix here. This week, we're talking about Obi Wan Kenobi, Episode 5, and Ms. Marvel, Episode 2. And if you're not interested to talk about both of these, there are timestamps within this video and in the description to choose the topics to your liking. Let's dive straight into first, Obi Wan Kenobi Episode 5. The Jesus writes, okay, that Anakin and Obi-Wan training flashback was just perfection. I loved seeing them in their prequel attire again and actually getting along. They share some nice dialogue and some pretty good choreography. The flashback is also packed with foreshadowing, obviously, of Anakin's darker and more violent fighting style. Also, there's that great moment of parallel between him and Luke in Return of the Jedi, when Luke is using the similar strikes on Anakin when he lets anger overtake him. Just confused as to why there haven't been more flashbacks like this. Probably one of my favorite scenes in the show so far. And yeah, the idea that with this show that can do all these flashbacks is pretty exciting in and of itself. Still, I'm a bit hesitant about it, but I kind of disagree with you on the fact that they're only now doing flashbacks, because even though I also agree on the other end of the spectrum that this show should have been a bit more eventful, I do really commend them for only now going into flashbacks when it's relevant. Now is the time to mirror what is happening in the episode in episode 5 with what Anakin learned, what Obi-Wan learned, and how that juxtaposes, you know what I mean? And I really like what they're doing here. I mean, I guess you like it too, but you're saying I would love to have some flashbacks earlier on in the show, and maybe it could have worked, but right now I don't see a lot of places that it would have particularly worked and would have added to the story. I don't know, maybe it did, but for right now, I respect that they're only doing flashbacks now, and I really think we have yet to see some of it in the finale, you know? And that parallel between Luke and Vader duel in Return of the Jedi and the flashback, I didn't really thought about it, because the way Luke and the way Anakin in this flashback hammers in on the opponent, it seems pretty straightforward. It doesn't look like a very unique move or anything, a unique strike. But when you put it like that, you really put the idea in my head right now. I didn't think about that before, that parallel that is there. So thank you for suggesting that. That makes a lot of sense. Random Guy 1001 writes, for the most part, I had no problems with this episode. The only little nitpick I have is that Anakin looked way older in these flashbacks than he did in Attack of the Clones. But other than that, I loved almost everything about this episode. And I'm not on a quest to disagree with you guys. I'm not trying to disagree with you. But there's one thing I disagree with here, and it's actually the fact that they didn't use de-aging, and that Hayden does look older, and that Hayden does look like the person he is right now. I don't really have a problem with that, because that makes me tune into the vibe of the two actors who are happy to return, seeing the real people there. I know it's a meta reason, but I love the energy it brings, and he doesn't look like a rusty old man. That would have been extremely crazy to see on screen, but to have those wrinkles there, to see him as his true self, and not to see him like this uncanny, like they did with Luke Skywalker, this uncanny figure on screen, it does help feed, at least for me, that vibe of the two together. So I don't know. I don't want to disagree, because they used deepfake to great success in the Book of Boba Fett, and I want to agree with you, but I actually like it that they don't do it here, even though it makes a lot of sense to do a little bit of de-aging, and it makes more sense than ever, but still, I don't know. Let's move on to Ms. Marvel. Peach9977 writes, like I said last week, this episode is phenomenal. Loved everything in it, especially the scene with Kamala's family. I just want to know what Aisha did to get everyone to be so sus of her, since Muniba, who is the mother, said to let it go. And then there was the stories of the Illuminatis were telling her, and the fact that Muniba dismissed the bangle as junk. Also, I agree with what you said about Kamala and Kamran possibly getting a Luke and Leia moment, because his mom looks too much like what seems to be Aisha in those two visions Kamala got throughout the episode. Like, that cannot be a coincidence to me. Wow, this is the second time I had a long comment. I am so sorry. sorry. Well, shame, 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 shame. No, I mean, comments feel longer when you type them yourself. When you read it aloud to yourself, it's suddenly okay. So I don't think it's a long comment. So yeah, Aisha will be the big mystery. I hope it doesn't get resolved until the end. There's a lot of tension there. I mean, can Miss Marvel get a little dark maybe? I don't know. I mean, it already began with, that is just junk. When her mother said to Kamala, like, leave that bracelet alone, it's just junk, just get rid of it. And that was the seed of the mystery, you know? Of course, because it gave her powers, but that bracelet is even more mysterious because of how the mother reacts to it, you know? It's not the powers, it's the history, it's the family mystery. So I do agree, I am intrigued with all that, even though it's just a fun little light cool teenage experience show. I like that there's a mystery in it. Tibu the Axolotl writes, I am really surprised by this show so far. I think this is a fresh new direction for Marvel Studios and it is good, but I am a little bit cautious about the scenes focusing on the religious aspects. I believe this is the first time we see a real religion being a significant part of a Marvel Studios production, and although I personally appreciate it that they do this, I also know that there are many people who have a very strict view on things in their religion, and they might feel offended if this does not agree with how the show presents certain things. I just hope they tackle this the right way and do not raise controversies. It's a really good point. It's a really good point. To me, people who have a very strict view on life and really get offended by media and films and things that are outside of their creative control and totally outside of their, if you are a person that feels very strict about something and is not flexible, your reality and your viewpoints are not flexible, I feel you have things to learn in life. And if there's a show like just a superhero flick from a multi-billion-dollar company that just tries to make money and do some... I know they're political sometimes, I know. But if you feel offended by that sort of stuff, I do think you need to learn some stuff in life. And it's actually good that you watch things that kind of step on your toes. I have a bit of a harsh opinion maybe in that respect. If you feel offended by a show or a film, maybe it's even good that you saw it and you start to fight that demons of you. I don't know. It's a fair point, and it's a great point, because I'm really starting to think about it, and maybe I'll change my opinion on this. But overall in life, if you are easily offended, then please make stuff that makes those people get offended, because it helps them move along in life. I don't know. It's not even about Miss Marvel anymore, is it? But that's how I look at a dilemma like that. This is not meant to dismiss any religion. I don't care what you believe. Please believe what you want to believe and live the life you want to live. Okay, Random Guy 1001 says, I like Bruno a lot more than Nakia, probably because he was introduced in the first episode, we spent more time with him, and I just like his character traits more, like his smart and supportiveness. Oh yeah, I totally get it. He plays really well of Kamala. Those two together are just a big ball of energy, right? Nakia has now more of her own story, and that makes her also interesting, and she has a character setup, but Bruno, he's just an extremely likable guy. We don't know a lot about him, he's just that supportive entity in the show, and probably in real life, I would imagine this actor is really likable, because we don't need a lot, I feel like we don't need a lot of Bruno to see, hey man, I like this guy, I like this character. So that's kind of all we got today. I'm thinking about wrapping this up. If you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up. It helps the video and the channel. Thank you. I'll be back, of course, next week with the new episodes of Obi Wan and Miss Marvel and the movie Rise of Family of Champions. A lot of things are coming out. Stay tuned for that. For now, have a wonderful day and see ya.